Hi, it's a privilege to come your way. Thank you so very much for making time to watch this video. My name is Jeff, Dr. Jeff Bassey. Today, I will be taking you through the subject of team leadership in the first few minutes. Or in the next few minutes, we'll be walking through the question of team leadership. Now, the question I usually would ask anytime we are discussing leading teams that have objectives to accomplish will be whether all managers and supervisors are leaders. The moment we make you a manager or a supervisor in an organization to lead a group of people to ensure that they can accomplish certain set targets, that automatically make you a leader. And I bet you the answer is no. There's a fine difference between occupying the position as a lead to a team and being the actual leader of the team. One will ask, what is it that differentiates the leader from a manager who is just providing some sort of authority over a team? Whereas management is about working in a system, leadership is about working on the system. I take that again. Management is always about working in a system, following laid down processes till we get to the final result. But leaders are always asking the question, is that the best method? Is the processes right? Can we do anything about it? Now, leaders are always working on the system, trying to alter the processes and improve on them, just to be sure that we can achieve results. I dare say that the essence of leadership is change and growth. Once there is no change, once there is no growth, once there is no improvement, once we are not doing it better than we have always been doing it, leadership becomes a waste of everybody's time, because the key ingredients that underpin whether one is showing leadership in that team or not is whether we are improving and whether we are growing. Now, it is expedient to note that everything in an organization is influenced by leadership. Everything in an organization is influenced by leadership, because it is only what happens at the level of leadership that trickles down and affect every other thing within the organization. So in that department, in that team, in that unit that you head as a team leader, if something good happens, it's probably because of leadership. And if nothing good happens, it's also because of leadership. Leadership can never be alienated from the ultimate responsibility or the result or outcomes. Unfortunately, many of us have mistaken occupancy of position to be leadership. In a good leadership lecture, I usually would take my audience or students through some 5 key myths or fallacies of leadership. But I wish to just address one now, which is what I call position myth. The fact that I occupy the position makes me a leader. No, occupying the position might give you access to leadership. Now, and I'm not demonizing the question of occupying the position, but it only gives you access to leadership. It gives you the opportunity to exercise authority, to provide direction, to take decisions on behalf of people, and if you may, to apply resources. So much as it augments leadership, in itself may not be leadership. Now, we have all been part of teams where some of the time the best initiatives and the attitudes and the motivation and inspiration to push for result may not be coming from the overall head who is supposed to be heading that team, but maybe coming from just a team member. Now, leadership goes beyond just a question of occupying the position. Now, leadership starts when we disagree with the results. So as a team leader, one of the key ingredients to why you will move the team from one end to another is to disagree with the result. The moment we are satisfied with the status quo, the moment we are good with the result, we go to do nothing about the situation. But the moment one person says, and I dare challenge you as the leader of the team, that you must be the one to be showing leadership. So the moment you say, I disagree with the result, immediately it kicks into motion, questioning the systems, trying to analyze the processes, the methodology that have been getting at this result. Now, the Chinese have one powerful proverb I don't joke with. The proverb says that doing the same thing the same way expecting different results is insanity. You have to change the route in order to expect a new destination. So leadership starts when we disagree with the result and are willing to do something about the processes and the methodology. Then the leader quickly moves into casting vision and inspiring shared vision among the team. Now, what is vision? Vision is to capture the future, register it on your mind, and use that future to drive the present day's actions. Capture the future, register it on your mind. But because you are not on that journey alone, you are on the journey with a group of people, you got to cause them to see things your way. You got to paint pictures and create destinations on the minds of all the team members to have the flair, the willingness to want to get there. Once you are the leader of the team, it's expedient that you take initiatives and apply attitude. Now, when I talk about attitude, what am I referring to? In everyday management of organizations, things happen. So there are happenings and there are reactions to happenings. Too many a time we may not have control over what happens. A classical example is the outbreak of the coronavirus. Nobody determined the virus comes. That is the occurrence, that is the happening. Now, leadership comes to play when we begin to respond and find ways to still provide leadership for the organization to still grow or to hit its target, even in the midst of challenges. There is quite a difference between a manager and a leader. I dare liken a manager to a thermometer. Now, what do thermometers do? Thermometers measure the temperature of a person or the environment and makes a mere report on it. That is all a thermometer does. So managers are used to blaming the economy, and there is a problem. We don't have money, we don't have work equipment, sales is not growing and all of that. Yes, much as I agree with you that all of those challenges exist, what makes you a leader is your ability to solve those problems. In the absence of problems, there will be no need for leadership, or we will not require leaders if everything was working rightly. I then liken leaders to thermostats. Now, what do thermostats do? They regulate the temperature of the environment. So leaders do something about the situation. Now, if you're a leader, it is important to show confidence and passion. Now, I am not asking you necessarily to have confidence. Probably having or not having is not important. But to the extent that leadership is infectious and repetitive, people will do what they see the leader do. A leader does not live for himself, but live for the people who look up to him. So when the leader communicates or exhibits fear, you infect the rest of the team with that kind of fear. And chances are that the team may not even have the stamina the leader is expected to be having. And what is the resultant effect? The team breaks down. You miss your target and what have you. It behoves on every leader, to show confidence, even in the midst of things not working too well, because it is important to keep the entire team on point. Now, let me share this quick story with you. I used to fear air travel a lot, but because of the nature of my work, I have to travel anyway. Maybe the story is quite better now. But those days, anytime I was on the flight, it was an uneasy calm until we have to land or get to our destination. On one fine evening, I was on the flight at Kotoka International Airport when this young lady walked in, and you could see her holding her ticket, searching her seat. I was on 41B and her ticket number was 41C, which meant that she was meant to sit right by me. I showed her her seat, and as soon as she took her seat, she started asking me questions. I am told that when the cabin is zooming into the sky and when you are going to turbulence and clouds, blah, blah, blah. By the time she asked a question or two, I concluded this was her first time, her first experience. And that was a great opportunity for me to become the leader and to show leadership. So I started explaining things to her that, it was not a problem and that everything will be fine and we should be landing, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're flying because of my slight fear of height, I usually will not sleep on a flight. It doesn't matter the number of hours. Even if it's a 10-hour flight, my eyes will be on until we land those days. Now, we got to a point where we have to fly through some bad turbulence, and the announcement will come from the pilot cockpit. ping pong, we're having challenges with the weather, blah, blah, blah. I stretched my neck and the young lady observed it. And she mustered courage to ask me whether I was afraid. And I told her, no, I wasn't afraid, and that everything was okay. And that in no time we're going to land very soon. I mean, an afraid man always know the distance covered and what is left to be covered. Now, by the time I had walked her through and told her that it wasn't a precarious situation and that in no time we're going to land, I saw an uneasy calm in this lady. Now, the question to ask is, was I the pilot? Was I the one flying the plane? But she had reposed her confidence in me right from the onset of the trip. That is what leaders do to their followers. On one occasion, when I had to speak at a sales meeting of one of the largest banks in this country, they had drawn all their sales officers all over the country to the head office in Accra, about 200 of them. And the director of sales would have to introduce me before I started speaking. And the introduction was like, folks, I'm sorry, sales is not, running, and people are not opening account. We are confused. We don't know what to do. Anyway, we have brought a consultant to speak to you. Now, there's a lot wrong with that kind of introduction. When I finished my engagement, I walked up to his office and gently engaged him that, let's say, you're supposed to be the director of sales for this bank, and I do not think that the way you introduced the session and brought me in was the right. Now, am I asking you to conceal the truth from the team members? No. But I expected that sales director to, folks, good morning. Leadership is deliberate and intentional. Deliberate and intentional. Folks, good morning to you. Sales is weak. Account is not getting open. But all we need to do is to change a few strategies. So we have brought in a consultant who will speak to you, and from there, we will kick in our strategies. Now, let's examine the two introductions. The first one communicates pessimism, hopelessness, confusion. We don't know how we are about. We may collapse soon. If you had a new job elsewhere, you can go. That is what you just told the team members. The second one say, hey, folks, there is a problem, yes, but we are in charge. We are in control. We will fix it. Keep hope alive. So the second introduction communicates optimism, something for the team members to look up to. The moment you become a leader of the team, do remember that you don't live for yourself. You live for the people who look up to you, and it behoves on you to ensure that you are always inspiring hope in them. Finally, it is important for the team member to, enforce what I call synchronized thinking. Synchronized thinking. Everyone got to see things the same way as the leader would see. Now, it was under the leadership of President Nixon, former US president, that the first two astronauts in America had to go to the moon. Now, on one fine morning, the president decided to visit the secretariat that was preparing the astronauts to go to the moon. He met a cleaner at the door and asked the cleaner, what do you do here? I thought the natural answer should be, I clean. The cleaner did not respond, I clean. The cleaner said, Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man to the moon. Now, there is an ultimate goal why that secretariat or office has been opened. And no matter what every team member does, it must be geared and strategically linked to where we think we are going. You see, I normally like to liken this thing to a four-tired vehicle where, every good driver knows that if you are driving and you have one tire punctured, one flat tire, you have three other tires. But why don't you continue the journey? You stop until you fix them. That lends credence to the fact that every single portfolio, every single office, every single position in the organization is important. Sometimes I challenge the banks. Let's come to work one day and get the tellers not to do their work by paying money, and let the CEO up there in that big office, that executive role, come down to pay money. I bet you he may not understand the processes of paying customers. And when one customer doesn't get his money, he calls the second customer, he calls the teller. In 1 week, a bank can collapse simply because a teller failed to do his or her work properly. In my conclusion of part 1 of this series, and on my next session, I'll be doing part 2, I wish to ask you these closing questions. How much do you know your team members? Do you know why they behave the way they do? And most importantly, what can you do to improve their behavior to enhance productivity so the team can meet its objectives? Thank you so very much for watching part 1 of team leadership. I encourage you to look out and watch part 2 of team leadership. Thank you.